treated this dude for 3 months. And she goes to adjust him one day, and then 5 U.S. Marshals walked in the room, and they're like, "You're under arrest." And she was like, "What?"
You hear that? That's the Frosted Cinnabon Diesel Perfect Sports Protein Bar that I've been crushing almost daily after my workouts when I'm on the go here for Kelowna Hockey Fest, wherever the Athletes Podcast take me. I have to stay fueled properly. That means making sure I hit my adequate protein intake for the day. For me, about 200 grams of protein per day. That's the goal, at least. That's what we're striving for. And we also get to strive for ideal health. And one of the things that you can do when it comes to ideal health is making sure that you're putting your body in the best position possible. Are you tired of feeling unheard by your chiro, physio, or trainer? Do you crave a more personalized approach to your well-being? Well, you're in the right place. Dr. John Beedle is not your ordinary chiropractor. With a passion for fitness and a dedication to helping others, as well as a commitment to providing top-notch care, he's here to transform your life. And as a trusted provider for major professional sport organizations, to you, an everyday person, you can rest assured that you're in capable hands of someone that has not only played at the professional level, the sport of lacrosse, but now also working with some of the world's best down in Las Vegas, where we'll be visiting in short order. But in the meantime, you get to listen to the 239th episode of the Athletes Podcast, and we're powered by Perfect Sports. This is the 239th episode of the Athletes Podcast featuring Dr. John Beedle. Here we go. This is my favorite.
You like this?
No, I don't know. I've only had it done once. I've donated. You like that? I've tried donating blood twice. I get to like the 5-8 minute mark.
Yeah.
And then I start going pale.
Oh yeah.
And it just rejects it. And they're really frustrated, and they keep calling me because I have really good blood and it donates super fast. But as soon as I hit that mark,
You're just wrecked. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Okay, we got to pull you off."
Your body wants to keep it.
Yeah, and I almost filled the full vial, whatever it was before, and they were like, "This is crazy how fast you were pumping it." Like that was probably the issue, but I don't know, whatever it is.
That's incredible.
I was listening to our conversation yesterday, and I'm like, man, there's so much that we can be doing in the sport athletic world, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface, and I'm 5 years into chatting with people on a weekly basis.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? Because the thing that's cool with sports, bro, is that it's always changing, right? Something is always changing no matter what, and you don't even know what's going to be the new thing now.
Right?
It's like you could kind of predict patterns, but then you're like, whoa, this guy came out with spaced toes shoes. Like what?
Yeah, the old Vivo barefoots that we're rocking right now. Yeah,
right? Those are great shoes too. And then you're like, wait a second, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think about the knees over toes movement and I don't know.
Yeah, I personally, man, I try to not be a hater on anything, I feel like in medicine, someone's always, it's just like an asshole. Everybody's got one, right?
Yeah.
So everyone is, no, well, that's stupid. But then it's they'll show you a pattern that is very similar to what that person does or based off that model. So I try to just kind of if it makes the patient or athlete feel better, I support it.
Yeah.
There's shit that my patients do that I'm like, yeah, I would not do that at all, but it helps them out, right? Obviously it's not dangerous for them, but you know, but it's just it's just we're all constantly learning, right? And I think as a provider, you really need to teach patients how to fend for themselves, right? So not to become self-reliant on you.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you're not, I think you need to pay for your education as a patient.
For sure. Yeah, you're not just paying for the 60-minute personal training session, you're paying for all the education, information, knowledge, wisdom afterwards as well.
Right. You are investing time to learn things about your body that you need to learn and that will help you in the future, right?
And people are ignorant of that and they wait until they're 50 to do it.
Right. Or they're so impatient that they're like, what the hell, this doesn't work. And it's like, brother, I've seen you twice. And then me, I'm a big numbers guy, right? So with patients, they're like, man, I don't feel that much better. And I'm like, that's why I get measurements, numbers, percentages. I get everything on everyone because sometimes you have to explain things differently to people. So like I had one patient, he's like, man, I've only been in here twice. I don't feel that much different. And I'm like, okay, how long have you had this pain for? He's like, oh man, like 7 years. And I go, okay, well, 2 visits with me, that's about an hour of time. So
7 years of bad work.
right. So 7 years of bad work. Is that 1 hour plausible to make you feel the way you want to feel by the end of this treatment? And then they're like, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Like when it's all a numbers game, right? Like, do you want to explain it by minutes, seconds, days, or visits? I like to keep the math simple at first because then it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Data informed, not necessarily like fully data driven.
Exactly, right? Yeah, because it's like there's stuff that happens in case studies that doesn't work for people.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I got into functional medicine, right? Because there's so many patients that don't fit that statistic that we use all of these case studies on for blood work. Like, how many times have people gone to the doctor and they're like, the doctor's like, oh, your labs are fine. And it's like, if my labs are fine, why the fuck am I in here?
Yeah.
I don't feel fine.
And their definition of fine is very broad. It's like, oh yeah, between 20 and 50, you're okay. But if you're
Right.
at 49 and one more number changes you to being
Yep.
in danger,
Yep.
but it doesn't matter because you're in normal range.
Yep. I joke about TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone in the States, right? The reference range is 0.45 to 4.5. So if you had a car with a tank of gas, and if I'm like, hey, brother, I need you to drive 200 miles, but I don't know how much gas is in this thing. I don't know how much you really need because I don't know how much is in the car, but you have 0.45 to 4.5. You'd be like, well, shit, dude. Like that, from what it sounds like you gave me, it's only 50% of what I might need or not even enough, right? So it's always based off the individual.
Okay, so tell me about your experience before Tara throws all this red stuff in and tells us what we're
So
taking.
excited. First off, shout out to her too.
Yeah, shout out to Tara
Shout out to
for-
Tara because this is incredible.
We're
5-star service.
we're being efficient. Here, do you
Yes.
want to take the mic and explain what
I
we're?
was gonna say you're gonna pee that color.
Oh, we're gonna pee
Yes,
red.
Yes. Don't be afraid by that.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't just get punched in the ribs.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not killing you.
Okay. Look at that. I love it. And then we're getting a mixture of magnesium. Here, I'll let you explain. You're the professional.
I'll take my mask down here.
You can stand right in between.
Sure.
A rose between two thorns.
A rose. You're such a sweetheart, aren't you?
Seriously.
All right, so we're doing a couple of different things, just different from a standard vitamin mineral bag because you're prepping for a big event in 2 days' time, 3 days' time, and you're back to sport now too. So we got to
Yeah,
support
just a has-been,
energy. No, back to sport now. We're going to support energy production pathways. We're going to support
Yeah.
your immune processing. We're going to support your muscle recovery process too. So in both your bags, we've done a little bit similar. Dosing's a smidge different between the two of you just based off where you're at in sport. But we're doing high-dose vitamin C as an antioxidant. Vitamin C is an acid, so we buffer that with sodium bicarbonate. And then we have all of the B vitamins imaginable. That's why it's red. B complex is going to be yellow, but that red's going to be overpowering from the methylcobalamin. We use methylated forms of vitamins and minerals so that they get right into your cell. Nothing stops them. They're already methylated. They're already as bioavailable as they could be. We did some taurine, which you may have heard from Red Bull.
Yeah, energy drinks.
Energy drinks.
Yeah.
But in Red Bull or in an energy drink, they put taurine in there, which is an amino acid, so that the caffeine doesn't explode your heart. So it's kind of
That's-
like a
yeah.
governor.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
it
little
keeps
crucial.
things a little bit more stable
Yeah.
as it crosses the cell membrane
Right.
and won't flood the cell too quickly. So we did taurine, we did carnitine, which you've heard of in sports medicine for muscle tissue repair recovery, and also helping you to take fats for fuel, use fats for fuel. So predominantly we look to carbohydrate for fuel in sport, but when we run out of carb or if we don't have as efficient of a system, then we want to use fats for fuel, and carnitine helps you do that. We put proline in there because that's a beautiful anti-inflammatory because your inflammatory cascade is heightened right now. Magnesium's in the bag, some zinc, some calcium. And then we just use half normal saline for the hydration side of it.
Amazing.
It's
So
beautiful.
everything has an osmolarity, which is how you move things in and out of a cell. An osmolarity probably around 700. Human blood is around 340. So we're actually shrinking your cell a little bit, but we're concentrating what's inside the cell. And then when you're done, your cells will expand again. And you'll be a machine.
I was gonna say,
Total machine.
Tony Stark, Iron Man powers after this, and I'll be flying up that Spartan race half marathon, no problem.
100%. First place every time. Guaranteed.
Wow, I need that in writing. And can you explain what you're doing with the urine testing as well, briefly?
Yeah, sure. So with the urine testing, we're doing some pre and post exertion analysis. So we're looking at the pee and we're trying to see what, before you get on the ice or before you do your sport, is your pH looking like, are your glucoses looking like, your ketones looking like, what's your kidneys up to, what are your kidneys up to, and then we're looking at basically hydration status. It's called specific gravity. We're taking a look at what things look like before you do your exertion and then directly after you do your exertion. So did your pH change to where you get more acidic, way more acidic, in this case on the ice? We know that you're not absorbing as well if you pick up acid that much. And then that's going to produce more inflammation and break down muscle tissue too much. So we look at protein too, and we see how much protein did you break down? Did you break down as much as we would expect since you're exerting, or did you break down too much? Is there blood in it? So really just looking to see what's changed with all those parameters. Then we apply amino acids or whatever needs to be applied to correct the system, recheck it, and see how we've modified pre and post exertion. Yeah.
Hey, Tara, thank you for doing this. Where can people find you online, social, so that they can get their own ideas?
Sure, yeah. Well, on social, Instagram's probably easiest. I'm Dr. Tara Dunn. I think that's what my Instagram handle is. My other kind of independent company is Surpass Athlete Development, and that's just Surpass_athlete_development. And those are both on Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for getting
Sure.
Dr. John Beedle and I sorted here.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're gonna
absolutely.
feel amazing. That was the
Yes.
little.
Feeling good so far?
Yeah.
Feeling great.
You said you were drawing blood weekly during chiro school. Is that what I heard? Is that what you just
Yes,
said?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so give me the breakdown on the Wolverine stack that you're on and what you're doing.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. The moral of the story of what I just heard, that if you're gonna do anything that explodes your heart, take taurine. So, those of you getting
I didn't
ready
know
for
that's what taurine did.
those of you getting ready for a long weekend, I guess get some taurine in you.
Yeah, you're into the electronic music then as well.
Love it. Yeah, man. Yeah, big into that. Yes. The little trash can. Beep boop bop. Yeah, love it. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of a given when you're in Vegas. You're close proximity.
Yeah. Vegas is like there's just so much club music everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, it's crazy. You go into an Albertsons. Do you guys have Albertsons, like
No.
a grocery store?
No.
Imagine going to a grocery store home in Canada.
Okay.
And there's slot machines in there. And there's like a smoker friendly area. Dude, it's absolutely nuts. You're like, what am I doing here? How do I live here? But yeah, anytime you go anywhere, there's always just loud music. And like, it honestly, like, I think electronic music, the hype of it, it's just like very energy driven, right? It's very
for
like
sure.
kind of like uplifting, not like gospel music, but some people, I guess it kind of is, but really gets your energy up. So,
And you're able to work with athletes and Gen Pop and some high profile clients. You're opening up a new gym. Like, give me the rundown on like how you've been able to build this up, because you, Brad, Jordan were all in the same class too, right? Or did I hear that correctly?
No, so they graduated above me. So
Okay.
It's so crazy. Like, I'm so fortunate and blessed to like have the people that I have in my life. Like, and thank you first off for having me on your podcast. Like, this is incredible, so humbling, right? I actually used to listen to Jordan's podcast when I was in chiro school.
RX Radio.
Yes.
Shout out to Shallow,
yeah, absolutely. So I remember my buddy Sam Bassan and we would listen to him every single day on the way to Lifetime in Minneapolis. And then we graduated. I graduated chiro school for 2020.
No shit. That was planned, hey?
Yeah, I know, right? I predetermined. It was destiny. I didn't even smoke weed. How boring is that? But but yeah, like, it's funny how like life comes in full circles, and I'm sure you're starting to see this too once you get to that higher athlete population. Like, it's actually a pretty small community.
It's crazy.
Like, we know, like,
ridiculous.
sports are such a large community, but it's actually, it just gets smaller the farther you go.
Yeah.
And the more people you meet, obviously, right? Like, I remember the lacrosse world, like, you run into people that know, like, your childhood friends, and you're like not even anywhere close to them anymore. So like, I guess, like, kind of getting into how we got into this, I went to school in Minneapolis at Northwestern Health Science University. So it's the most medically sound chiropractic school in the nation. So we have, pathologists teaching you pathology. We have MDs teaching you pharmacology, or pharmacists, ClinPath, right, where we had to draw blood every single week. And, talking about my ding-dong roommate, Luke, who tried to draw my blood one day with his left hand, trying to be ambidextrous like an absolute buffoon.
Scratching your bones.
Scratching my humerus. Oh, I'll never forget that. That was terrible. But yeah, man, it's honestly, it's been such a blessing, like, coming here, meeting Mark, getting to meet people like
Fitzy
you.
knows everyone. You want to talk about someone who knows people?
Mark literally knows everyone. Like,
Yeah.
my friends joke around that I know a lot of people, and I'm like, no, Mark Fitzgerald knows literally everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised he's not like a politician by now or something like that. Kind of is.
Is this your first year here?
Yep, first
Okay.
year. So I was gonna come here last year.
Fires.
Yep, fires. Literally the day I was getting to the airport.
Oh.
The day I was getting to the airport, fires hit. And they're like, yeah, you're not going there. So, yep, I had all this fictional Canadian currency that I got to save. And then
Your monopoly money.
I had the loonies and toonies, and I had to save it. And then I got to use it for this year. So it was
Heck yeah.
great, man.
Heck yeah. What do you think so far?
Dude, I love it, man. Honestly, I actually really like traveling to Canada.
Okay, I like hearing
I
that.
like traveling to Canada. Like, everyone's very nice.
Yeah.
Right, especially kind of living in Vegas. It's very hustle. So it's kind of nice coming here where everyone's like, and people are nice in Vegas too, but here it's like Canadian nice, very friendly.
It's different. I know. I remember experiencing that when I drove Toronto to LA and like did that AP tour. We had like 30 episodes on the road, Midwest,
man.
different
Yeah.
like different vibes.
Yeah.
I will say Midwest, super nice also.
Very
though,
nice.
Like that. So, but the LA, Nevada, Vegas, there's like it's pockets.
It's a hustle, right?
Yeah.
So like
Coastal.
yeah,
Coastal.
it really
grind.
is. Like Northeast, it's like, you could call someone
I'm okay, thank you.
I'm good, thank you so much. In the Northeast, you could call someone a motherfucker, and it's kind of like a way of saying hi. It's like, okay, that's different.
Yeah.
The Midwest, they're just really nice and passive, and some of them are a little scared of their shadows, so that's okay.
Dude, I'm chatting with like FDNY for our expert VR firefighting stuff, and like these guys are hard ass New Yorkers,
Oh,
and it's like,
absolutely.
man, I have no idea how to handle you guys. Like, and they're on calls chirping each other. I'm like, man, I would get in trouble for saying that stuff.
Oh
Like,
my gosh! If you want a wild fire department, I have my buddy Mike Zanetti. He's in Vegas. He literally just accomplished his first year making it out of a rookie thing. Got absolutely blasted for like old YouTube videos. These guys got everything on him. It was hilarious. But that's like a good team camaraderie type thing. It's just
it's
that's
like in
just how it works.
sport, right? You need
Yeah.
that D room. You need that
Like-
ego check. People,
Yeah,
especially nowadays, can get high on their horse.
Oh yeah.
I think we talked about that last.
Yeah, a
week.
little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So, and I can't even imagine for you, right? Because you get to hear so many conversations, like we were talking about, like having a podcast. You get a wealth of knowledge from everyone, right? You get to hear so many incredible ideas. Like I always laugh. I'm like, Joe Rogan could possibly be one of the smartest people in America because he talks to the smartest people all the time, right?
There's something about like you want to talk about being grateful and like
Mm-hmm.
I think I was telling you before I even started recording, like I have an excuse to talk to world-class coaches, athletes, nutritionists,
Yeah.
the best and the best,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't have any prerequisites to do that. I just am curious. I like getting after it, trying new things,
Yeah.
experiencing it.
And that's the thing, man. It's like having the hustle, like I feel like kind of watching this new trend of athletes and like, I guess like I sound like it's such a boomer talking like this, but I feel like human interaction, like in person isn't like how it like used to be even just from growing up. Right. And obviously things change, but it's like, How often is it now that like you're at the grocery store and you just randomly strike a random conversation with someone?
Never.
Hardly ever now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember, I mean, granted, I'm from Wyoming, so whatever, you kind of know everybody. But, like, that's just like a friendly thing to do. And I feel like now, hold the door open for someone and it's like, I have a fucking boyfriend. And it's like, wait, I'm holding the door open for you. Like, relax, chill. I saw this chick convulsing at EDC and I told her friends, I said, hey, do you guys want help getting her to the medical tent? And her friends, they looked at my friend and I dead in the eyes and she was like, she's fine. And this chick is foaming at the mouth. And I'm like, okay.
Clearly your priorities are skewed.
She clearly had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's wild though, man. But like kind of getting back to like, you asked me about peptides in school. It's pretty fortunate because in the States, chiros, like our scope is different in a lot of states, right? So in Nevada, I can order any imaging and any testing that I want as long as we have a preventative game plan for the patient. So, and we don't overstep our boundaries, right? Like I really stick to the stuff that I'm certified in and that I feel 100% confident in, like blood work. I do tons of blood work. I do tons of GI maps, right? I do a lot of stool tests, blood, urine, hair, saliva, because I realized like when my dad got really sick with type 2 diabetes, when he was diagnosed with that, that process of his death took 4 years, right? And he was in that statistic where he didn't meet the criteria to be treated through insurance for type 2 diabetes, right? He was just a couple points off in like 3 markers, but he had every symptom, So then you work on nutrition with people, again, like small town USA, like I know you've driven through the small towns. I'm sure they're in Canada too, where
Knobnuster, Missouri. Brother.
Yeah, that's a hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Be careful. Just keep driving through that one. I don't even know that one.
I stayed at night there.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, shit.
I doubled the population, I think.
Absolutely. That's how Wyoming is. It's gone now that I'm not there. But, it's crazy because, like, he'd even understand that, like, getting biscuits and gravy from Carl's Jr. was fast food because some people just associate a cheeseburger and fries as fast food, whereas, like, well, no, John, that's breakfast. Like fast food is like lunchtime. And it's like, no, man, it's not. It's hard because like when you work with the general population a lot, like
it's educating.
It's all education, man. And I feel bad for these doctors that work insurance because they are not gifted the amount of time that they can explain something. I don't think these are bad doctors. I mean, there's good and bad janitors everywhere, right? There's people that are like, fuck it, I'm here to get paid. I don't care. Yeah. And then there's people that are like, I know there's doctors that are like, man, I wish I had more time with that person because then I could have explained this case a little bit more in depth with them. But they can't. On average, they get 7.5 minutes and they have to fly through multiple people right, a day just to like make ends meet.
Yeah. Such a shame because there's people out there that could be impacting people positively, yet they're constrained by those handcuffs. Fortunately, there's people like yourself out there doing things, even helping maybe underserved communities like EDC, for instance, where people don't think about some proactive things they could be doing prior to headbanging for 3 straight days.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I know, like whenever I leave EDC, like I feel like I've ingrained my footprint on the concrete of the racetrack, and I know a lot of people probably feel the same, and like working like lower privileged and things like that. Like I've always volunteered with like I did a couple in residencies with the Salvation Army in Minneapolis. So it's like very low income. This is a wild story. My wife, she's also a chiro. She treated this dude for 3 months. And one day she went to adjust him. You could tell me your name's Bob Marley, and I can't ask any questions. They don't take anything, which I don't know how that's legal, but whatever. Treated this dude for 3 months, and she goes to adjust him one day, and then 5 U.S. Marshals walked in the room, and they're like, "You're under arrest." And she was like, "What?" And the dude just slowly got up off the table, and he had murdered his wife and kids like 5 years prior, and he was on the run. And the U.S. Marshals, they're like, "What do you have to say for running all these years?" And the guy goes, "I wasn't running, I was walking." This metal as fuck. Yeah, so hard, right? But then it's like, like inner city stuff like that. You never know like who you're treating, right? But like people still need help. Not that guy. That guy's a piece of shit. But regardless, you know. And then, you know, I've interned with Special Olympics, right? I do a lot with Special Olympics. I do a lot with lower income housed, like teens. You know, I grew up in the attention homes.
Yeah, you were telling me last
yeah,
night, and your brother's experience. Like, I mean, I know both. First off, rest in peace to both brother and your dad. I'm sorry for your
I
loss
appreciate
there.
that.
And
Yeah,
like,
man.
but that was impactful to hear that, and that was kind of what spearheaded you getting into this, diving deeper.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, like with my dad, you know, he was just, I mean, I hope that like people listening, you know, they haven't had this experience yet in the hospital, but I mean, there's a lot of people that have had the experience of you get sent to another person that doesn't know who the fuck you are. Then you wait 3 weeks to see the specialist. And then the specialist is like, okay, so what are you doing here? And it's like, well, did you not read the notes? Like, I've been waiting to see you and meet you and hear these things. And they're like, so what do you need? And then in that 7 minutes, they send you off to someone else. They don't even touch you or even interact with you. Like, it's just, and then you go to that next building. Then they're like, who are you? You know, so it's like, it's pretty, it's not set up for success in America with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of really pushed me to, okay, what can I do to help more people? What can I do where time won't be as big of an issue? Become a chiropractor. We're protected under the federal law of physicians, right? So chiropractic physicians, that's a thing, right? And then I did an additional 300 hours in functional medicine school. So I have my CFMP through Functional Medicine University. I did the Institute of Functional Medicine, so I'm one of 6 providers in Nevada with that certificate, and I'm the youngest one.
No big deal.
No big deal. I know, right? There's a lot of hours. My wife will kill me if I told her that I actually just signed up for another continuing ed. I know, shit. I just sewered myself. Well, hopefully I'll be done with it in a couple of weeks. And then I did my functional master's in blood chemistry, right? So I take functional medicine super serious. Like, there's a lot of people that, you know, we're biohacking right now, right? But, you know, there's people that, these podcasts are awesome, but it misses a lot of context for people, right? Like, I know one really popular one's like magnesium, right? Magnesium's great, but if you're on a certain heart medication or certain heart issues, that could fuck you up. Right. Most people don't know that. And oopsie, right? Yeah. Vitamin D. People take crazy amounts of vitamin D. Vitamin D is really beneficial for you. If you take too much vitamin D, you could get vertigo. Did you know that?
I did not know that. How much?
Typically when people's vitamin D levels are over 100, that's when they start kind of getting like heart palpitations, tachycardia, and vertigo-like symptoms. It's crazy.
So I'm up in the Pacific Northwest right now, and I get no vitamin D, and I'm crushing. I heard Dr. Rhonda Patrick on Joe Rogan.
Love Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's a gangster.
She'll throw like 10,000 IUs, no problem. Is that
easy?
That's okay.
I do anywhere from. Okay. So let me specify. For me, I take anywhere from 10 to 20,000 IUs.
Perfect. Okay.
I personally, for most people, and this is just me gently saying this because
there's always exceptions to the rule.
There's always exceptions. Yeah. No one's the same. However, I think 10,000 IU is very safe.
Perfect.
Right? A lot of times with most of these vitamins, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get diarrhea.
Or you pee it out.
Right? Like what's going to happen here, right? Yeah. Like she's like, you're going to pee red. Yeah. It's not your kidneys exploded, right? But yeah, it's just like, it's cool though, because we're at a time and place now in the world where we have podcasts like yours where we get to learn really cool shit about sports and our bodies, and that's really cool.
And it used to all be gate kept behind closed doors. You had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and like,
Oh, you want to fix yourself? That sucks, brother. Hop in line. So do the rest of us. And now it's like you could Google it, right? You can find out whatever you want, man.
I guess that brings up an interesting point because you can Google literally anything. I could search up a million different things here, and it would probably say either end of the spectrum, as in like oats. They're either the best thing or the worst thing for you, depending on who you follow on social media. How do you decipher? Do you read the research? I know even one, for example, there was some products had a ton of research over in Dubai, but nothing over here in North America that you were talking about yesterday.
Yeah. Dude, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's getting it. Yeah. So I'll kind of explain that, right? There's like I said, everyone's got an opinion, right? I go based off the individual, right? So, for example, I know one thing, we'll talk about peptides a little bit, right? So peptides, right? Everyone's like, ooh, BPC this, BPC that. Like when it comes to my patients, I'm so liberal. Like, cause I'm like, I value your time and dollars so much.
Yeah.
I don't want you to waste. Oh yeah, I got to hit that too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit that.
Mid game relax.
Yeah, that's right.
From
Yeah,
Can I Wellness.
that's right. That's right.
Tara said it would be a good
Chris
thing.
is the man too. By the
Chris Lord, shout out to Chris for bringing us out here to Kelowna. The best way to get a little extra relax in there. You'll see, we'll be calmer for the last 15 minutes of this.
I honestly was laughing the first time I hit this. Have you ever seen Dumb and Dumber?
Yes.
You know, when he goes to spray it in his mouth and he just misses it completely. I was so nervous yesterday when I was going to hit this. Thought I was going to just whiff completely.
The trick is sticking your tongue out, finding the hole as you're.
That's
when
what
you're
she
putting
said.
this- as I was saying, I was like,
walked
this is not
right.
good. That's not good.
He walked right into
Tara,
that.
don't laugh. You're not allowed to. No, it's. I was saying that for the sleep one when it's at night when you're trying to eliminate those ultra lights. I wear blue light blockers. What other biohacking stuff do you do? Because I think that'd be an interesting topic for you to share.
Oh yeah, man. So I'm like anyone that comes into my office and sees me, I am like a peptide rat. And
Yeah,
a
you
supplement
literally
rat.
just said you were a lab rat.
Yeah, so I literally like, and my wife, it drives my wife crazy because I also do experiments on her. She just has no idea about it. Like, I will take supplements like to the most extreme. I'll get my blood work done first, and then correlate markers to certain products that I like to take, like nutraceuticals. And then I'll take a very aggressive dose of nutraceuticals on certain things or try out new protocols on myself for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then I retest my blood work to see what happens. And it's like, okay, yep, don't take that much DHEA. Whoa, that's a very high amount, you know? But peptides, man, like they're becoming super sexy. It's a sexy vocabulary term right now. I've been taking peptides since... Sorry, Mom. Like 2010, like when I was in high school.
No way.
Yeah, man.
Shut up.
I was even taking clenbuterol. I had no business taking clenbuterol. It's a form of steroid that people use to cut weight. Yeah, like I've done clenbuterol. I haven't actually done testosterone or I haven't done HGH. I know, right?
Is that not so? I'm still clean as of right now.
Natty.
I'm an natty and fully intend on staying that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, the second you're not, I know a guy, Kenny KO, and if you ever see him, he's going to come up and ask you if you're natty or not. I'll give you a warning before you, just so you know what he looks like.
Fortunately, I'm not in your position with the cap shoulders. People don't question me. They're like, yeah, this guy's natty. They see how much weight I'm pulling. So it's nothing crazy. But I am curious, like, it is sexy. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone compares themselves on social media.
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, oh, well, these guys are on peptides. These guys are on testosterone. So it seems like, oh, I could take it and it's natural, so it should be fine. But like you yourself are doing full speaking engagements on steroids. And
all the time.
Probably the pros and cons of it. Can you maybe share, I guess, the highlights and the lowlights about steroids?
Absolutely, man. When it comes to like steroids, peptides, you know, biohacking, like here's my thing. First off, I'll talk about steroids because we work with them quite frequently at our office. We don't sell them, but like I work with a lot of athletes and populations that use them. The most important thing is where you get it from. Right, I tell people, right, like, okay, yeah, you can buy supplements on Amazon, or you can just buy it from the company where it comes from their manufacturer, their website, their warehouse, right? Because when you buy stuff, like, are you really, like, okay, so for example, let's use Chris's product, right? Yep. If I were to buy Chris's product from someone that just bought a lot of his product and didn't really sell it, right? It might not be kept the same. It might not travel the same. Or what did this person that's not working with Chris do to the? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had a patient. She bought these Zymogen products off Amazon just to save $4 or $5, which I get. It's $4 or $5. It adds up. But one of her products wasn't kept stored properly. She got black mold toxicity. Yeah, that fucked her up.
Whoa.
Scary stuff, right? So it's like, honestly, like...
Taking a little ashwagandha, you get some black mold.
Exactly. Actually, it was... Yeah, like it actually was one of those. Yeah, so like if you don't store things properly, they get messed... And people don't think that with supplements because we're all younger, right?
Yeah.
But as we get older, I'm like, oh man, yeah, like wash my hands way, way, way more now, right? And then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna take a drink from or try someone's drink from someone I don't know, obviously, right? Just because you never know what people have if there's sickness or anything, right? But like when it comes to like steroids or like, and let's classify steroids real quick. Testosterone is not a steroid. Testosterone is a hormone.
Right.
But things like, trenbolone, dianabol, Winstrol, things like clenbuterol, things like that, like those are steroids. You want to find places that can actually compound it where it's legal. Now, some of those are not legal to compound, but you need to be careful with where people get stuff from. So wherever you get it from, whoever's listening to this, always show me the Carfax.
Yeah.
What's the molecular weight of it? What's the enzymatic process of it? If people can't answer that, probably shouldn't buy it from that person because then they don't understand the chemistry of it, right? When it comes down to testosterone, it's so normalized now where I find it more like, why would you not get it from a compounded pharmacy?
Yeah.
Right? Because that way an actual pharmacist is doing it, not someone in their garage or basement.
It's like buying marijuana now
Yeah,
compared
it's like
to a decade ago.
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, you could get a deal from your drug dealer, but it's like, why not just go get it where it's regulated, right?
So for those athletes who do play sports, who can be supplementing,
Enhanced,
we'll say, is it just getting testing done, identifying where your gaps are, really? More than just pumping yourself full of these things and seeing what works?
Yeah, man. So there are people that just do the option B.
Yeah.
And like a true story, I will not even give my mother B vitamins unless I order her tests. Because here's the thing, right? Like, and I'm super liberal when it comes to my patients, right? When my mom asked me for B9, B12, and I was like, well, let's order your blood work first. See if that's something that you need or if that's what you should need, right?
Yeah.
If that B12, just because I'm bad at math, or B9, B12 was $100 a month, and she's got that for 12 months, that's $1,200 of a lady that's trying to retire, right? Mm-hmm. Compared to, okay, let's spend $250. Let's do a good blood test, right? And then we'll figure out what you actually need, and we're putting our dollar towards the right thing at the proper dosage for the proper amount of time, right? Because then you could do two blood tests for the amount you just spent on that B9, B12 that you don't even know if you need, and then you spent just like $400 or $500 on the proper amount of supplement that you needed. You see what I'm saying?
100%. So that's blood testing. Now I had like Justin Rothling-Schofer on who own it out when I was in Miami, and one of the things he's doing is like genetic testing. There's all that stuff. What are your thoughts? Where's that going? Brian Johnson, live forever,
So like I try to not be a hater on anything.
I appreciate that of you too. That's good.
I really try to not be a hater on people in their business because, bro, that's how people feed their family. That's how they pay their bills, and that's their passion. That's really cool. Okay, let's talk about some things with genetics, though. So single nucleotide polymorphs, those are called SNPs, is what we call them in our world, right? There's a study done a long time ago that a lot of these companies are starting to use now, and it's like fucking old study. Do you remember the show The Biggest Loser?
Yes.
They took the sperm of the contestants when they were obese, and they found the obesity gene. Then they took the sperm and genetically tested it of the contestants that were in the finals, and the genetic SNP for obesity was gone. Okay, wow. Groundbreaking. So you go from being overweight to in shape. Wow, you don't process that gene anymore. Duh, right? So when it comes to genetic testing, a couple things. Number one, methylation. Let's use that because that's a really sexy one right now. This is what I do. I'll look at people's blood work, which is a fraction of the cost of genetic testing. I'll look at I'll order specific markers like MMA or cobalamin, folate, whatever I want to look at, and then you correlate symptoms. Easiest way to figure out if someone has a methylation issue, give them a methylated B vitamin, and then see if their symptoms change, right? Because remember, we get to this process of, we do genetic testing. What happens after you get a genetic test? They give you what? Supplements, right? Okay, so if I know genetically you have a dysfunction or a SNP in your genes for processing certain things like COMT or MTHFR or whatever like that. Okay, well, I could give you a liposomal form, like what Chris makes, get it right in your bloodstream, make you feel better. Okay, well, that saves a lot of money and time, right? Now, that is kind of shotgun treating, but it's much more cost effective than genetic testing or doing blood work, right? Or the gut. Dude, I do a lot.
Stool test.
I do a lot with the gut. And, I kind of I'm even starting to stray away a little bit from some stool test companies because some of them, they're not passing my sniff test. Literally, I'm not sniffing the shit, but literally, I'm just this isn't working the way I thought it would, because some of them don't add up to how they used to add up, right? I think people cut corners a lot because testing is so popular now, right?
Yeah. So on that topic of the Biggest Loser, 300 pounds, 150, losing that gene, there was a recent study that talked about when a human is conceived, that if the male I believe it was the male was in better shape or healthier at that time, that the kid's going to be healthier too. So would you be going on some type of protocol prior to conceiving or eliminating those things prior to conceiving? How would you go about that as someone with a family?
I'll tell you a funny joke real quick. I told my wife that we couldn't have kids until she ran a 6:45 mile. And then she told me we couldn't have kids until I learned how to do basic math. So she threw it right back in my face. So then that's why we still don't have kids. I'm just kidding. But, the thing is when we get down to genetics and how our body is, right? I work with IVF patients a lot, right? And dude, some of the most challenging, some of the hardest, and some of the most rewarding cases you ever work on, right? Because some people, it takes a lot of focus, right? And it takes a lot of dedication, and it's really expensive. Not on my end, but the process of IVF is crazy expensive.
IVF, explain that.
So that's basically what they do to try to get people to have kids, right? So if just regular intercourse doesn't work, right? Or reproduction. That doesn't work. What they do is they'll do injections for you and they'll...
Artificial insemination.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, man. So, but for those cases, what do we look at doing? Okay, so you get a person that it's very difficult for them to have a child. Typically their lifestyle, inactive, or they have some form of very poor diet, they don't exercise, they don't train, high stress, right? So what do we do for these people? Calm the fire down. Okay.
Crush some relax.
Let's crush some fresh, crush some relax, get the sleep, right? Get Chris's products, right? Or get some taurine in you.
Make sure the heart doesn't explode.
That's right. Make sure your heart doesn't explode, right? But, you just basically what you can do is, you want to work on diet. You want to work on exercise. You want to work on meditation. You want to work on everything, right? And then those are the cases where something beautiful really happens, and they end up. I've had out of 4 cases that I've worked on, 3 of them have been able to conceive kids. Whoa. How fucking cool is that, right?
Dude, 75%. That's putting you in the Hall of Fame, right?
And I know people are like, "Oh, that's not a lot of cases." I'm like, for a chiropractor, for someone coming into my office and they're wanting me to do nutrition, testing, exercise, programming, and then I also do case management with other people, right? I refer them to an acupuncturist. I work with their endocrinologist, right? I'm not just the guy that I do it all.
And that's what I appreciated when I had Jordan Shallow on a year and a half, 2 years ago, probably now, and he was I asked him, what is your title? He's like, man, I just connect people too, right? He's like, dude, I'm a chiropractor by trade, but I know who to go to when an athlete needs this, that, or the other thing, right? And it's a specialty.
Man, you really have to know, I think the thing in kind of all forms of anything, some people try to do someone else's job. I remember one business coach, they'll figure out who it is when they talk, if they listen to this. You need to do labs in-house. And I go, why? I'm not the phlebotomist. I know I'm the professional ordering the labs. That's LabCorp and Quest's job. They should go to LabCorp or Quest because they're the professionals. Yeah, I could hook someone up to an IV. I'm not the pro at it. She is. Right? I don't need to be able to do everything. You need to trust me on where I need to send you. That's my job. I refer out for cardiology all the time. I refer out for imaging. I refer out for testing. It's you just got to know your limits and what you need, and know your boundaries.
Know your limits, play within it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're almost done this IV drip. This is dope.
My body was thirsty.
I can't thank you enough for chopping it up, chatting.
Dude, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. And you honestly, man, like you're going to be really successful, and you already are right now, but you're going to be very successful in continuing this endeavor. Like, it's really cool. So
thank you.
Embrace those suckage days, and don't forget those suckage days, because it'll make the good days even greater, you know?
These are the good days. These are the good times. There are definitely the sucky days.
Yeah.
And, you know, you ebbs and flows. Life's full of seasons.
Yeah, some days I say some days you're the windshield and some days you're the bug, but I'm always John Beedle.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah, I know, right? So
I
don't know how you want to take that.
Absolutely, that's perfect. And as we wrap up, as Tara pulls these needles out of us here, once we've got the Wolverine stack in, I want you to share. I know you have a new facility opening up, and you've got some exciting things. Open space. What do you want to leave the Athletes Podcast with?
Oh man, you know, honestly, like, what do you mean exactly?
Well, you do have your up and coming release that you were talking about.
Yes.
Are you allowed to talk about those things? What can we share?
We'll let it
share
rip.
what you can share.
Gosh,
and then what?
You know, I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is the best way to present this. Yeah, so we're gonna Genesis Integrated Medicine. We're gonna be opening up our own facility. We're going to be located right by the Durango Casino in Las Vegas, a really good area. We're going to have more space. It's our next stepping stone, man. Like, I'm so thankful for every patient that's been with us this whole time, right? Like, from Dragon's Lair, Linology, Torture Gym. You know, it's just been such an amazing ride, and now we're ready for the next stuff, and we're just going to keep chipping away, and hopefully we're going to finalize this thing with Insomniac, and that's going to be even bigger for people with EDC, you know, just lifestyle stuff. And then the next steps after that are going to be doing more community work, man. So if there's ever anything that we can do to plug you in with any of this stuff, you just let us know.
Dude, that's one of the things I wanted to make sure. The philanthropic work you're doing is phenomenal. We're going to get down to Vegas. We're going to make sure that we highlight what you've got built there. We'll get a lift in. We're going to get a lift in now at Iron Nation.
Oh, absolutely. Not Iron Energy, though.
No.
Apparently that's a big no-no here, I guess.
Iron Nation, right?
Yes, Iron Nation. Yeah. I messed it up like 16 times yesterday, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy. Now I know why, but whatever.
Yeah. No, it's hey, it's been a pleasure. Dude, where can people find you on socials also?
Yeah, easiest place to find me is on Instagram, and it's at Dr. John Beedle. On Instagram, that's it. DRJOHN.
Website?
Beedle. And our website is genesisintegratedmed.com.
Beautiful. Dr. John Beedle, thanks for coming on the pod.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, folks, for tuning in. The producer for the Athletes Podcast is Ryan Lott. Big shout out to him for his continuous efforts, and big shout out to Dr. John Beedle for coming on the show, sharing his story, wisdom, insights, for not correcting me when I didn't even bring up his lacrosse background here on the Athletes Podcast. But I think you folks will benefit from the 40 plus minutes that we chatted, and from Dr. Tara learning about what we had given to us in our IVs prior to my Spartan race that I don't know if you guys heard was kind of a mess. It was 5 hours. It was freezing cold. The only time it stopped raining was when it decided to hail and snow. So that's story for another time. But for now, we get to see you next week for another new episode of the Athletes Podcast. I appreciate you showing up, tuning in, listening, taking some pieces of advice. Let me know your favorite piece of advice from this episode or any of our other previous 238, because this is why we're here. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Bye.